Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Hi, my name is Lauren and I'm a senior nursing major about to head into my 5th semester of nursing school, which is crazy to think about. Today I'm going to be doing my semesterly tips that my classmates have given me about the semester. I have done this for my 2nd and 3rd semester already, and I'm really excited to be doing this for 4th semester. Go ahead and watch my 4th semester recap. I will link that here. So thank y'all so much for watching and being so supportive. It's so crazy to think that I am almost done with nursing school already. So I had my class go through on a Google form and fill out different questions for my classes. So I had them answer as many questions as they wanted to or did not want to, so they did not have to answer all of them. They could pick and choose which ones they wanted to answer. My questions were, what is the most efficient way you studied this semester? What tips do you have for a future student going through 4th semester? I asked them to rank the classes and how difficult they thought they were, and then tips for each class and lecture. So let's get right on into it. Going off of the most efficient way my classmates studied this semester, we had a lot of people saying that they took their notes from class and the PowerPoint slides that our teachers gave and made them into study guides. Someone also said that they went through the textbooks and pulled things out and looked over that. A lot of people wrote out study guides, but we also have talking through concepts with a group, going through the textbook with the PowerPoints, making sure that you start studying early, but being sure to take breaks. And somebody said that they wrote over the notes repeatedly, and that helped them, which I heard that somebody did that and did really well with it. And then I also like doing the Pomodoro technique, and that really helps me because I can't really focus, but if I can get in the mood and just sit down, then I can take breaks, and it really just helps me for some reason. My favorite one for the most efficient way is crying it out and then grinding it out. So that is 4th semester for you. It is definitely difficult, but so doable. And I'm so glad to be done with 4th semester, but you can totally do it. Alrighty, going on to the next question are tips that my classmates had for a future student going through 4th semester. So I have all but one person responded to this. So a lot of people want everyone else to be successful. The biggest thing is basically just making sure that you set yourself up for success. A lot of people just said to make sure that you study really hard for peds, give yourself plenty of time before a peds exam to prepare yourself and make sure that you are not stressing yourself trying to cram it in at the last second, which I totally agree with that. Figure out which class is the toughest to you and invest the most time in it. And I agree with that because obviously if you're grasping the concepts for one class, you don't need to waste your time studying it as much as you need to put that time and focus on the things that you're not so good at. Also, somebody said, stay calm, work hard, give yourself a week in advance studying before a test, and do as much work ahead of time that you can do. And give yourself ample time to prepare and do your clinical paperwork early. I am a firm believer in doing my clinical paperwork as early as possible. If there's downtime during lunch or anything, waiting for clinical to be over, if I haven't gotten any more skills and it's just kind of downtime, then I love to work on my clinical paperwork. I take advantage of every opportunity that I can, and I let the nurses know that I'm eager to do whatever I possibly can. So it's not like I'm missing out on getting any kind of experience. A lot of times the nurses will take me through charting. So if I see something that I need to put in my paperwork, I can write that down. So it's actually really helpful to be able to go through and get that information for my paperwork. But even if I don't finish it before I leave for the day, I usually like to go home and do it or do it the next day. That way I don't forget what happened and I can not have to stress about that over the next week or whenever it's due. I can just make sure that I already have it done. I have thankfully lucked out and had instructors that don't make it due until a week after, so I have plenty of time if I need to. I do know somebody had an instructor that it was like they had 2 or 3 days to complete their clinical paperwork, which would have been fine for me, but I know some of my friends would do their clinical paperwork the night before it was due. So I do agree with that. Make sure that you do your clinical paperwork, get it done ahead of time, and don't get so far behind in everything that you stress yourself out trying to make sure that you can study for an exam, that you're going to make it to clinical, and that you have all your paperwork done. Each semester, I always ask my classmates what class was the most difficult to them, and then which class was the second most and which class was the least difficult. So obviously you saw the pie chart was 100%. So the most difficult class according to my peers was peds. Everyone thought that peds was the most difficult. Then going into the second most difficult, all but one thought critical care was the most difficult, and one person thought that research was the most difficult. And then that one person said that critical care was the least difficult, and everyone else said that research was the least difficult. And so everybody filled those out, and I personally agree with the peds, then critical care, and then research. That's just my particular ranking of them. I think that peds needed a lot more effort and time spent on it than critical care. I think a lot of that is just because I've gotten adult body systems before and I haven't necessarily for peds, and going through some of those pediatric questions and issues and diseases, then it was just much more difficult for me, developmental milestones. So I definitely agree that peds was the most difficult, and my grades reflected that as well. Now I will go into each class asking for tips for that lecture in clinical. So for peds lecture in clinical, I have a few things. Our teacher gave us a lot of graphs and charts and tables to look for in the book, and a lot of people said that they were very helpful, and I would agree with that. I didn't always go back and look, but it is really helpful. So if she mentions any kind of charts or tables to go back and look at, do that, because it will really help, and make sure you pay close attention to those because they're there for a reason and they were mentioned for a reason. Another person said, try not to schedule clinical the day before a test. So basically whenever you're in your peds class, you get to, or we did this semester, we got to schedule our extra clinicals wherever we wanted to. So like a library tutoring day, I got to pick wherever I wanted to. And I had actually scheduled 2 clinicals on that day. So one of our clinicals was from 8 to 12, and then the library started at like 3. So I knew I would be back and could go to that. And so I just went ahead and did 2 in one day to knock those out. But I did have a hospital clinical, which I didn't schedule. It was just scheduled for me the day before a peds test, and it was bad. And it was so bad. I think it may have been my worst exam. And so just not being able to focus on the exam and having to drive an hour to clinical and an hour back was just a lot for me. So someone else said, use multiple resources for your studying, not just the notes that you're given. For clinical, you have to seek out your own opportunities and take full advantage of every moment you were there to get a full experience, because you're limited to patients, which is so true. Because there aren't that many pediatric hospitalizations, especially where we're at, you do have to seek out every opportunity that you can. For me, on my first clinical day, mine was walking with a patient, making sure that my patient could get up and just get their blood moving. And so I mean, that's really not a skill that everybody thinks about that they want to do and that they're so excited to do and talk about, but it's also something that was needed, and my patient both of my days at that one hospital, I had patients that were being discharged. So I was basically just waiting on paperwork to be done. Maybe just getting like their last vital signs. So it wasn't anything crazy, but just making sure you seek out any opportunity that you can, and just be able to really understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, because you really do not get that much experience. I would say at the children's hospital that we went to, we did get a lot of experience and we got to see a lot of things, but it wasn't necessarily a lot of things that we could be super hands-on with. So, because sometimes the nurses just had to take over, and that's completely fine. So just make sure you make the most out of everything, whether it just be you're the best listener that you've ever been or that you observe really well. Just make sure that you do whatever you can to get the best out of that specific experience. Up next are tips that they had for critical care lecture and clinical. This was by far my favorite class. I really enjoyed just learning how the body works on such an even deeper level than we've been learning, and getting the best experience at my clinical. I just had so much fun. Something that I really love that someone said for this class: overall, the class is pretty overwhelming, but as long as you take everything and break it down, it's very doable. Ensure you start studying as soon as you get the material. For these exams, it's good to know what it is, what you'll see, and what you'll do to treat it. And I totally agree with that. Being able to apply, and a big thing for like a heart rhythm. If you get it and you know that you're going to give a certain medication when it's in a certain rhythm, then you need to be able to recognize that rhythm, decide, oh, this is what it is, and I need to give this medication for it. So when you get a question, it may say, what are you going to do for a patient if you see this rhythm? Then you're going to know, oh, I need to give this medication, or I need to do this. So being able to take it and apply it in multiple ways. So it's a lot of knowledge, but it's also being able to apply it with the knowledge. So I totally agree with that. Some of the questions were kind of difficult and on those exams, but a lot of times I could narrow it down to 2 and then pick the wrong one, which is what I love to do that, apparently. But being able just to rationalize things out and try to narrow it down and pick what you think the best answer is. Because sometimes I get mixed up on that. I think it's a really good build off of adult health, but the lectures are very detailed, so if you take good notes and go back and review those, I think you'll really set yourself up for success in that class. I don't know if I just really got it or why I liked it so much, but I didn't think it was too terribly difficult. I just think if you prepare yourself before the first exam, I made an A on the first exam, and I studied really, really hard, and I made sure I knew how to apply everything, and I really learned it in depth because I wanted to start off on a good note. So another person said, understand the heart really well, and I would agree with that. The cardiac exam was my worst exam, and I think it was because it was our second exam, and I did so well in the first one, I just kind of slacked off for the second one, and it was much more difficult. So just make sure that you think critically, because it is critical care. So just be able to try to wrap your mind around what you would do in those critical situations and how you're going to apply it in that way, and enjoy. I hope y'all enjoy the class as much as I did. And I mean, our teacher just made it so much more enjoyable than I ever could have asked for. So someone said these clinicals can seem redundant, so that's why it's important to try and do as many skills and really work on perfecting them. So I went to a different place every day, and I know not everybody got to. So mine wasn't really redundant, so I can't really speak on that. But I would say anytime you can give a skill. For me, I will say sometimes people get annoyed with giving medications. So they're like, oh, I know how to do that. But I just always take everything I can to practice if the nurse is there willing to teach and let me do, I am all for it, and I do my best to be able to do that. So I would also suggest that you do that. We did have an ACLS certification day, and we paid for that, and then we just went through. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't the most fun thing I've ever done, if I'm being honest, but it does count as our CPR certification now, so we don't have to be recertified for our 5th semester. Alrighty, this leads us into the last class, which is research. So tips that everyone had for research. I think she did a little bit different this semester, where we had our lectures recorded and posted, and then we were to listen to them before we came to class. And when we came to class, we had a worksheet that we did, and we just kind of reviewed that information. I personally didn't like that because I had to find the time before class. Not that the lectures were long, but I just really could not sit down and focus to want to get in the note-taking mode. When I'm sitting in a desk in class for some reason, I'm like, oh, I gotta take notes. So doing that, I feel like kind of affected me a little bit more. Some people said that fill out the study guides that she posts for the exams, that they're really helpful. Anytime you have extra assignments, don't put them off, just go ahead and do them. Make sure that you stay on top. That's one of the classes that you can fall behind if you're not on top of everything. It's not difficult work, but sometimes it's just time consuming. So as long as you make sure that you give yourself ample time to complete your work, you can submit it, and you'll be fine. A lot of people don't put stuff off. The worksheets that we completed in class were very, very helpful for some people when they were studying for their exams, along with those study guides you posted. I think if you study both of those, you'll do really well. Someone said the book was really helpful, and someone else said get the book. I would agree with that. There were some things I had questions on, especially doing our critique, and I was able to look that back up in the book. So if you can get the book, I really, really suggest it. It's really helpful. And I was really good at listening to those lectures at the beginning. So if you can go through and you can think about it, you don't want to listen to all of them in advance just because you're not learning about everything at the time. But if you think that you would be good at that, I would suggest making sure that you stay on top of that so you actually know what you're talking about when you get to class. Sometimes it was very confusing when I didn't understand something, and you can't always just read the PowerPoints because a lot of the stuff was extra information that you needed to write in. So make sure that you listen to those prior to going to class. Even though the worksheets are really helpful as a review, I think that understanding it a little bit better by taking that time to watch those lectures and try to understand it and comprehend it will really help you. So whenever you come to the test, you're not scrounging to learn so much information because there are only 2 unit exams. So being able to just understand it as you go, you don't have to relearn all of it right before the exam. Someone else said make sure that you do well on the critique and the poster because they make your grade, which is true because they are 25 and 30% of your grade. So that is over half of your grade right there. So just make sure that you take your time and you focus on that and you make the changes that you need to make, and you will do just fine. I had a really good grade in this class. And I'm not the biggest fan of research, but I enjoyed the class for what it's worth, and I got my toes wet with it and kind of got a taste of the research world, and some people it is right up their alley, and for me it just wasn't. But it wasn't anything that was just unbearable. So as long as you go to class and you put in the effort, you should do fine. Alright, y'all, thank you so much for watching this video. I love making these, just going over my semesters of nursing school. I did leave a little box. It said, anything else you'd like to say or just get off your chest. And I had 2 people say things that I just want to touch on. The first one, I know it's easy to procrastinate when you don't feel like doing something or you want to just go to bed, but we'd rather be uncomfortable now and suffer through the studying than to have to redo everything the next semester. 4th semester is so close to the end, so don't give up now. And the other person said, this semester was by far the toughest semester so far, and it pushed me so much. After completing this semester, I felt so proud of myself for continuing to study even when I didn't feel like it. Take this semester one day at a time and always remember your why. And I couldn't agree any more with that. Just making sure that you don't forget why you started in the first place, where your passion is, where your heart is, and each day just wake up and continue to prove yourself wrong. All the doubts that you have, just keep on pushing, because you're going to be an incredible nurse and you are going to change lives, and the only thing stopping that is going to be you. No matter what, you can always push through. You can always achieve your dreams, and I am right here supporting you. I wish nothing but the best for all of y'all. 4th semester was a really difficult semester, and we lost I believe like 5 students from our class, which is huge, especially after not losing anybody after 3rd semester. It breaks my heart whenever we lose people, because I want nothing more for those people to be nurses just like me. And I know that minor setbacks aren't, the end. It's just a detour, but it just really makes me sad. And, I just try to think of myself and what I would feel like in that situation. But just wanted to touch, if you fail a class, that does not define you. It doesn't define you as a nurse, as a student, as a friend, as a family member. Like, it does not define you. And if everything was made to pass, everything would be easy and everyone would do it. But you can do hard things. Even if it takes you multiple tries, you can do hard things and you can become an amazing nurse. And I cannot wait to watch y'all become nurses, and I can't wait to be a nurse myself. 4th semester really pushed me in ways that I didn't realize, and I'm so glad it's over. But I hope this video I hope this video helps just one of you, hopefully more, but if it helps one, it was so worth it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can find me on Instagram, or you can comment on this video. But thank you all so much for watching, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I cannot wait to be amazing nurses with all of you. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all in my next video.